Hi, everyone. Kumar Danatrain here with the Meridian Point. And today we're joined by Mosongo Moukwa, a transformation leader with 30 years of senior R&D experience across global chemical and materials companies. From being handed his first management role straight out of his PhD with no training to become the VP at SC Johnson, Mosongo discovered that leadership isn't about the title, it's about emotional connection. He's the author of Be a Leader of Significance and currently runs Attaway Medical Material while coaching small business owners to uncover hidden revenue without massive ad spend. Mosongo's approach centers on creating what he calls small engines of innovation by building shared vision and trust that makes people feel they're contributing to something bigger than themselves. I love that. I love that it's more about the human connection than it is about some skill that you learn in school. So without further ado, let me welcome Mosongo to the stage. Thank you so much for being with me here on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Kumar. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. Mosongo, first, let me make sure did I say your name correctly?
Yes, Mosongo Moukwa, yes.
Okay, perfect. So Mosongo, in your book, you share the story of Jim Lazinski, a hardworking, brilliant scientist and VP your VP refused to recognize. When Jim came to your office asking to lead a major project, you chose him despite not knowing it could cost you your job. Your VP turned red and even pulled you aside after the meeting to give you one last chance to change your mind. You said Jim is the right person and walked away. What happened next? And what did that moment teach you about the courage required to be a leader of significance?
Yes. Thank you, Kumar. This is actually a great question. But before we go, I just want to make a correction. Actually, I did not start at SC Johnson. I started with a chemical company in Cleveland. And then as I progressed through my career, I ended up as a vice president at SC Johnson. So
all right, very good. Yeah, I may have skipped some of the details.
That's all right. That's okay. No, this is what you're asking. There is a great question, but let's maybe back a little bit, because at that time I just finished my PhD, and I was a postdoc at Northwestern University in near Chicago, and Evanston, Illinois. And so I took a job with a specialty chemical in Ohio. I was excited to be part of the research and development team. And I was dreaming of having patents, contributing to new products, and so on. But not long after I started, the VP of R&D called me into a one-on-one meeting, and he leaned forward on his chair, and then he said, "Well, Mosongo, we have something else for you here. We're going to make you a manager." At that time, the company did not have a research group. They had some kind of a technical service or so. So I told him, I said, "Well, sir, I've not been a manager before, so I'm not too sure how this will work out." He said, "No, don't worry. I've spoken to your colleagues. They all think that you'll be a great for that particular job." So suddenly I was a brand new manager with no management experience, and I had to figure things out. So that was really something there. But I think during that period, a few people helped me fill gaps in various ways, but I was more or less on my own. So what crystallized for me, Kumar, and hopefully for your listeners out there, is the thought that growth and comfort will never coexist. So I think if we close our eyes for a moment and we think of those instances where we grew the most, actually, and where we learned the most, really were when we were put in those uncertain situations. So, and I think when I look back, is that crystallization made it much easier for me to take on risky challenges and different jobs that were really difficult. So, but to come to your question, and early in my career, so I was given an assignment that was really to focus on some new technology and so on. And so we were in this meeting, and I was asked there, I said, "Oh, Mosongo, who are you going to have lead this particular program?"
Mm-hmm.
So I said, Jim. And then this particular VP, he had the way he was managing the department. He was, like assigning people for various groups, even though the managers who were supposed to be doing that. And then I told him, I'm going to give it to Jim. So the vice president was extremely annoyed. I could see from his face. My colleagues, they had their hands in their notes in that particular meeting and whatnot. And then he said, "Well, I think you should have taken Frank." I said, "Well, no, I think that Jim will be the right candidate." So as I walked out of the office, some of my colleagues came to me. They said, "Oh, you should have really not done that. This fellow is going to fire you, and so on and so on." And then later on, actually, the VP came to me and then he said, "I think you should really reconsider. I think Frank will be the right candidate." So I disagree with him and so on. And then he said, "Suit yourself." And then what happened next is really is that this fellow Jim, I knew he was a very bright scientist, but for whatever reason, he never really he never really had the spotlight onto him.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him the assignment and I provided him the support, and we deliver. We deliver on that project beyond expectation. So much so that this particular individual became the sought-out person in the department whenever we had somewhat of a difficult project or complex project to lead. But I have to confess that that it was a bit. I think every manager at some point in their career, they're going to be facing that situation where you really need to take a stand on what deep inside you really think that's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
and to be prepared to be held accountable. I had somewhat of faith that we're going to be successful, and I worked very hard along with Jim, and we made it through. And that really became, actually my job and my performance those days became extraordinary. So much so that then I got promoted multiple times within the company.
Sure.
I ended up having a senior role in other organizations.
Yeah.
So that's really what happened there, Kumar. That was a great question.
Thank you. I mean, it was a great example of it sort of reminds me of this book, The Multipliers. So to be someone of significance, I'm going to borrow the title of your book. You have to be able to multiply yourself in some way, and plant seeds where people can sort of take root and sprout and develop their own leadership, right? And be seen for what they can do. And a lot of times, I think that there is a difference between managers and leaders, and managers manage things, and leaders develop people. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes. I fully agree, Kumar, because in my mind, developing others. I mean, leadership is not a solo venture. That's what I like to say. So it's not about how far we progress, but it's really in terms of I would say how far we help other people progress. That's really for me leadership. But developing people can also be tricky, complex, and sometimes uncomfortable at the times, because it's really it's a journey of exploration. It's a journey for exploration in a way punctuated with moments of discovery. So while on that journey, the employees, they have to maintain that growth mindset at the same time. So that's really what I would say. But leadership, you're absolutely right. It's not a solo venture.
Yeah. So what is it that I mean, you've obviously had a lot of success. I'm reading some of the questions that I prepared, and we may get to some of them, maybe none of them, but the your career trajectory has been about transformation, going
Yes,
into companies in different parts of the world, really, and
yes,
transforming how they operate.
yes,
And this, this example from India, where you worked in a paint and coating firm in India. It was so entrenched in status quo that employees' creativity was just being completely wasted. And we see this a lot too for my company, Agile Meridian, and the disruptor method. People that are closest to the work are the ones that are ignored the most, even though they have the most to offer in terms of creative ways to improve productivity and improve revenue. And they're more connected, I think, than most with their core customers. And yet
yes,
somehow these people are ignored. So what did you do there in that company in India and probably other places that allowed these people to shine, to
yes.
be seen and heard?
Yes. What I've learned, Kumar, is that for you to have an impact, you really need to put that human connectivity as
Mm-hmm.
the core. So when you put that emotional connection at your foundation, then you're beginning to discover what people are capable of doing.
Mm.
You create that foundation for confidence that lead them to new and exciting things for people who are under your care. You motivate others, to achieve something that matters to them and to the company as a whole. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I understood. And what I realized is that the quality of that relationship that you build, that's really will determine how significant your leadership is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So knowing that, that's what I employed during my career, and I believe that my success during in my corporate career could be attributed to that human connection.
Mm.
Because as leaders, we have so many opportunities to connect with people. We connect with
Sure.
them by the coffee machine. We connect with them at the meeting. We connect with them at various places. So these are all opportunities. So when you're meeting people, don't just ask them, "Hey, how is the project going?" Yeah, you're not going to get much. So you need really to begin to understand them. What I understood, Kumar, is that what employees they're looking for a sense of affiliation.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I worked with this scientist, and by the coffee machine, I asked him, I said, what is it here for this company that really makes you come here every day? And I expected him to tell me, oh, we are working on the great projects, we're going to invent patent and so on. No, 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 no. What he told me is that he said that I like coming here because during lunchtime I can play ping pong. I can play ping pong with Mike. I can play ping pong with so and so. And, so I always look forward to that. So for this individual, that sense of affiliation was extremely important.
Yeah, I wonder how that's changed since I don't know when this was. I think you mentioned it was the 2005-6 time frame. We're 20 years from that experience in India,
Yes,
and things have changed a lot, right? In the work culture, the work dynamic,
yes,
where
yes,
people are
yes,
remote,
yes,
they're
yes,
not working in an office. You can't have those water cooler conversations,
yes,
and how do you still cultivate that human connection when we are so disconnected? Not only are we so disconnected, we're also fragmented. We can't really do the deep work that we used to do 50 years ago, 100 years ago, where we had time to think and do something creative, because we're always being bombarded by the next meeting that we have to go to, or a message that comes on Teams that asks us to sort of divert our attention to something that is maybe less important, but it still captures in some way our attention. So how do you sort of balance the needs, the tyranny of the urgent, with the what you need to be able to focus on to be creative?
yes. I mean, two things. So first of all, the leader has to realize that he or she is the energizer in chief. So they have to energize the organization. So that's number one, and then number two, to never lose sight of that connection, because once you build that connection, and you give and you create opportunities for others, that's really where you can really see people really thriving. And whether it's in a remote situation, you still have opportunity to have those types of conversation and so on. You can ask open-ended questions with people, even when you're on Zoom. You can try to get to know them and so on. For example, there was this manager who told me that she was in marketing department, then she got transferred into my group, and as we have gotten to know each other and so on, she told me that when she was in that particular group, she realized after a while she was no longer invited in meetings. And my question to her is that did you go to them and ask why is it that I'm no longer invited in meetings? She told me, she said, no, I did not feel safe. I felt invisible. So for her, it was that psychological safety, as a psychologist that I calling, was inexistent. So as manager, we have to do that. So sometimes when you call meetings, it's not always who is there, but sometimes you need to ask the question, who is not here? Who should have been here? You know, so we tend sometimes with our own biases to move people around and so on. So you as a leader, you have to be aware of that. So to create those instances where people they could connect with each other. So that's what you need, because you need to find what are those energizers, for the individuals as well as what energizing the organization as a whole.
Yeah, so it sort of that should answer Adam's question here that's on the screen. How, as a leader in this more remote workforce, do you get to know your people well enough to create the unique environment that works for all of them? So if I were to interpret what you said, it's about creating alignment and energizers towards that goal, that mission, that purpose for your team. And also as a leader, creating a safe environment for people to feel that they're engaged, that they're that they have something to contribute, and that contributing whatever it is that they have to contribute is not going to get them shut down.
Absolutely. And to get to connect with people doesn't mean, in the case of remote work, for example, it doesn't mean we have to go to a bar having a drink necessarily. Yeah? Even remotely over Zoom, you can take the time before you ask people about their project to get to know how their day has gone. You can ask a question, what exciting things that happened to you today? Those are the types of questions that one can put there that creates some positive energy. I remember I had this friend of mine. He was vice president of human resources. He told me one day that when you're having a conversation with the people under your care, they have to leave that conversation energized. And you can do it on Zoom, you can do it on the phone, you can do it anywhere. Because even on Zoom, if you have to give an employee feedback, you don't need to say, well, I can't give the feedback because he's not really physically here. I mean, you can still have that interaction.
Yeah, all good, all really good points. In your book, you write that if you're not outside your comfort zone, you are not learning, or you will not learn. Can you elaborate on that and how to put that into practical action?
Yeah. I find that in the you see, when I was put in that situation in my very first job, in the beginning it was a bit scary. I must confess, because actually I told them, hey, I'm not too sure if that's something I'm ready for, and so on and so on. But they insisted, so I took the job. Because when I took the job, then I realized that potential that I was not even aware that I had. The ability to create, to build organization, which actually became later on my hallmark. Because after they will say, oh, we know you have the skills of building organization. That's why they put me in many of those positions for me to build those high performing organizations. So I can trace it back to there, because that gave me an opportunity really to rise, and to discover what I was capable of doing. But obviously along my journey, I made some mistakes and I had to learn along the way. For example, early in my career, I had difficulty giving feedback, because some of those people in my team at some point early in my career, they were my colleagues. So when they put me as a manager, now they began to report to me. So I had difficulty really giving feedback. And then
Mhm.
that was affecting the performance of our team. So I had to come to grips to do that, that unless I do this, all of us here, we're going to be dramatically affected. So opportunity for you to discover who you are and opportunity for you to learn some new skills. So that's what I would say. That's why when we are giving opportunity or create opportunity for the people who are working for us, we actually we will be very surprised to see what they're capable of doing.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say that if you're not feeling challenged, then you're likely not engaged in the work that you have?
If you are not feeling challenged and you feel like you have reached a plateau, then it's time for you to create some new activity for you. What that will take on a new project, take on a new learning opportunity and so on. Because those activities also it gives you some positive energy. It
Right.
ignites something inside you. So if you I'm a long time learner, so that's a way for me to go to that fountain to draw
Yeah.
some energy, and or trying to create some new activity for people. Those things gives me my energy. But I
Yeah.
think all of us, we know that at some point when we say, I'm really not learning much here anymore, or I'm not really energized. In which case, some people, they are courageous. They go and tell their supervisor that, hey, listen, I've done this for 2 years, 3 years. I'm not excited. Is there any other project there? But you as a leader also, you need to identify some of those people. Huh? Some of them, they may not necessarily come forward, but you need to go and pull them from
Yeah.
their comfort area and assign them the job. And that's what I did with one employee, because this fellow was always in the background, and
Mm.
people would have never thought of giving him a big assignment. But
Hmm.
I asked him to be our contact point, to go to Japan, learn some technology, some manufacturing technology there, and bring it back here. And I
Mm.
remember when I told him, he hesitated, and I could see in his face what I went through in my earlier years.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I asked him what concern he had. He said, well, my concern is that, I have a young family and so on. I told him, don't worry, I'm going to organize for your wife to go there, and then for you also to come here after a few months, back and forth. But we need for you to go there, spend 6 months, and so on. I told him, give him some thought. We'll give you the support, and Mr. Shoji, who is in Japan, my country, will provide you the support and so on. He came back and he said, yes, I'll take the job. Now, when he came back, he had learned, he has mastered that technology. He brought it back to the company, and he became now the contact point, not only for us, but the contact point for manufacturing, for
Wow.
marketing. And he find himself teaching the people in manufacturing and teaching the people in marketing how they should go about marketing that particular technology.
So
Did I pull him from that position he was, we would have never discovered what this individual was actually capable of doing.
excuse me. Yes, I think there's a definitely correlation between good leaders and the ability for them to spot talent and support that growth, the growth of that talent. And I certainly had my share of them as early in my career, because I was one of those people that was in the background and didn't want the spotlight. And I had the benefit of great mentors and good leaders that saw something in me, and I've benefited from that throughout my career. I've also had my share of bad leaders, bad managers, I should say,
Yeah.
and it's not fun to be on the receiving end of a micromanaging, controlling
Yes.
manager that that doesn't, that stifles creativity.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really important, the experiences that you're sharing. You also talk about this learning agility. You mentioned that also in our conversation, this thirst for learning. How do you cultivate that in people? Because not everyone wants to I mean, a lot of people, some people are just happy knowing what they know and they don't want to grow, or maybe they haven't been plucked by the right leader to help them develop this thirst for learning, or this learning agility, as you put it in your book.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So there are different strategies that a leader can employ. One is to reassign individual in other activities, even if they don't want it, but still reassign them, and then provide them the support. Don't just
Mm-hmm.
reassign them and ignore them. So that provide one learning there, experiential learning for them. But the other activity which I did, which I learned from early in my career, is to have in the weekly meeting or monthly meeting, not just to talk about projects, but I dedicated some days where I will assign a book to employees for them to read, and then the next meeting we will discuss what that book means in their personal life or in their professional life. I
Mm-hmm.
remember in the beginning that was something that people did not particularly like. But after a while, some of them confessed to me that that was something that took them away from the busyness of running projects in
Mm-hmm.
the department to something actually, that they could read. It's which touches more into their own emotions. Or sometimes we can just discuss an article. So much so that some of the managers now, after we began to do those things, they will suggest themselves, "Oh, I came across this article. I want to share with the group," and so on. So it's possible to create that atmosphere of that culture, of learning and so on, while we are doing our projects. But every now and then you need to pause and then to do the non-projects related, because individual, we also need to grow along the way. It's not just through projects.
Wonderful. So that's a good strategy, a good foundation. Sort of lots of different things that people can use. People, aspiring leaders, can use to inspire the people, the doers, if you will, that are that they see potential in. And to me, everyone has potential. It's just a matter of finding that spark. What is their intrinsic motivation that allows them to break out of their bubble, if you will, right?
Yes.
In your book, you kind of lay out this complete framework, being on mission, embracing agility, seeking positive disruption. If someone listening on the show wants to start their journey towards becoming a leader of significance today, which of these practices do you think they should focus on first, and
I
why?
would say I would say focus on developing relationship with the people,
Hmm.
not some superficial relationship. Obviously, it takes time to build that, but focus on that human connection.
Right.
Focus on getting your people. Focus on not just always asking them about the projects, but ask them about their daily life. Ask them what really excites them about their day.
Mm.
What do they want to achieve in life. Those types of conversation. I think many managers, frankly, avoid having them for whatever reason. We tend to see people, hey, John, how is the project going? Let's meet to discuss the project. No. You can take the time for coffee and say, hey, man, how was your weekend going? Did you watch the game? And then laugh there, and so on and so on. And then say, oh, last week I heard your son was not well. How is he doing now? So
Mm. Hmm.
you're putting that touch there. I remember one manager one day told me, and I was not aware of it, but he said I was walking in the corridor, and I told him, I said, hey, his name was Rajiv. I said, and then he said, according to him, he said I was passing the corridor, and I said, hey, Rajiv, don't think I've not seen you. I did not forget you. And he told me that comment there make him feel valued. He felt that he was now part of something much bigger than himself. I did not realize it at the time, but so those are some of those small gestures that us as a leader that we should employ. Because people get energized then they can perform. They take
Yeah.
joy coming to the office to do.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
for the
I think
activity.
people just want to be seen and
Yeah,
heard.
people want to be seen. You said it well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what you're saying is often overlooked. I mean, I don't do it often enough with the people that I lead, is just acknowledge them and say,
Yeah.
hey, I see you,
Yes. Yes.
I see you for who you are. And I think there's a certain element of authenticity that needs to be
Yes.
felt, over
Yes.
the,
Yes.
the
Absolutely.
camera, over the tone of voice, just saying, hey, how are you doing? How was your weekend? And
Yeah.
then moving on and becoming really a transactional leader after
Yeah,
that.
it becomes, yeah,
People can
yeah.
see through
And
that.
we do it a lot, and sometimes without realizing, hey, how you doing? And we are not even thinking whether the fellow is doing well or not. It became just like almost mechanic. But
Yeah,
take the time and say, how are you really doing?
yeah,
That's different than, hey, how are you doing?
that's
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah. I think the conversation is resonating with the audience. We don't have a huge crowd today, but I know this video will be watched again and again. So I'm really happy to have
yeah,
you on. I
yes.
thought we would end our conversation with some lightning round questions, just to rapid fire. The first thing that comes to mind. So you've lived all over the world, in the Congo, in Quebec, and now in Chapel Hill, in India. I'm assuming in Japan. What's the most valuable cultural insight you've carried with you that has shaped how you lead?
The cultural insight which I find anywhere I've gone is that when you establish that relationship, genuine one with the people, then you really will be welcome in whatever culture, in their
Mm,
house, and so on.
I love it.
When I went to Japan, I told the people there that you don't want just to eat every day in those expatriate restaurants and whatnot, but I wanted to eat where they were eating. That was well appreciated. So they took me in some of those small restaurant there where I was the only foreigner there. It was well appreciated by them, and everybody was talking about it and so on. So those are small gestures there appreciated. In
I love it.
India, when I lived there, it was the same thing, and I attended many of the weddings of some of the scientists, very, very low level people, which in that part of the world, many of the senior people don't always attend. But the fact I was going there, the parents of the groom, of the bride, were very much appreciated. And those individuals, consequently, also, they appreciated my genuineness. So when they come to work, they were able to perform. So this is what I found anywhere I went, and you see
I love it.
people, they laughing, joking with you, giving you the respect that you deserve, but you don't feel like you are this outlier. You feel
Mm,
like there is some kind of a bond
yeah.
that is developing
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. So your book is filled with lots of stories from your journey. Some of them you've shared here in
there.
this
Yes,
call. What's the
yes.
one story you didn't include that you wish you had?
Story that I did not include that I wish I had. I think I did not include the some of the some of the I focused on the leadership, but I
Yeah.
think I should have included also perhaps some of the non-business, because
Mm,
while I was in many of those countries, I also traveled around, just on
sure.
my own to discover the countries. So
Mm,
this is a piece that I wish I've included also, to give people a bit of flavor of some of those places.
yes.
I maybe because I did not know how to craft it in the book, but
Yeah.
I think it would have been probably it would have given a
Sure.
different dimension in the book.
It would have given people more of a context for
Yes,
your
yes,
experience there, not just the
yes,
stories, but also your
yes, yes,
experience in the country
yes,
and the culture and things like that.
yes,
Sure.
yes.
Maybe that's another book.
Yeah, well, I'm working with another book, Kumar, which I'm hoping to launch early next year. This one is focusing on small business owners.
Yeah, that's one question I didn't ask you, because I know you're working with small business owners now.
Yes.
So maybe I'll do this in the form of a lightning round question. So give us your 30-second pitch. What's the fastest way a small business owner listening right now could identify a hidden revenue opportunity tomorrow?
Well, I think if you focus on the 20% that drive your revenue, that is, you can achieve financial independence in less time. Which means focus on on the 20%, which means the 80% that you also have to get rid of the 80% that is draining you.
Sure.
So one needs to calibrate their mind and refocus that way.
I love it. All right, Mosongo, we're getting at the end of our time together. Anything I didn't ask you you'd like to share?
No, this was certainly a great conversation, Kumar. Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it.
My book is called, this book we are talking about is called Be a Leader of Significance. For some of the people who are listening out there, leaders or senior leaders or manager, this could be a great gift for yourself or to the people that you know. You'll find there lots of practices, lots of stories. There are, at the end of each chapter, there are some practices, some tips that you can use, and so on. And let's make the world a better place.
I love it. Yeah, I'll make sure I include the link to the book in the show notes of the podcast.
Yes.
And that way people can get a link to it. And I may start a little book club using your book as material, because everyone can stand to learn some techniques, some tips, some advice, whatever it is. But I think maybe having a discussion around the lessons in the end of each chapter, that sounds like a really good way to sort of supercharge a group of people to be better leaders. So love that. All right. Thank you so much again. Thanks for watching, for those of you who joined, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
Bye,
thank
everyone.
you. So it's great being on your show.
Thank you.